Okay, so I think we were still on the rational choice making. Okay, so as we said, you make a rational choice when your marginal benefit actually exceeds your marginal cost. Okay, when it exceeds your marginal cost, and we're talking about the incentives. What actually discourages us or encourages us to take an action, make a choice. Okay, so if you are taking or you are making a decision, you are making a choice, you keep on making that choice until there's a change in incentive. Okay, so if I'm buying 20 units of a particular commodity, I'll keep on buying that until something happens. Maybe there's a change in the price of the good, or maybe there's a change in my income, that's an incentive, or maybe there's a change in taste or preference, towards that good, that is an incentive that can cause me to change the quantity that I buy. That's why we are saying that choices actually respond to incentives. Okay. So I hope we are good.
Yeah.
Now we see economics as a science. Why? Because we use the scientific process in our analysis. Okay, we have to use the scientific method. First, you have to identify the problem. You pose a question. You try to gather or use a model, gather facts, and then you compare the facts to the model to see if actually what you are saying is true or not. Okay, that's why we consider it as a science. But then it's a social science. It's a social science because it deals with human beings. Okay, it deals with human beings, human behavior. Okay, so we just try to use this process to actually know what will economically work and what wouldn't work at all. Okay, so you meet quite a number of economic models. We just use those ones to actually understand how the entire world actually works. So first, they do that by posing a question. So, for example, John Maynard Keynes brought up a puzzle or set a question that there should be a relationship between income and consumption. Okay, your income level should determine your consumption level. Okay, so that is something that he is saying. Okay, so it's just a conjecture that he has made, a hypothesis that he has stated. So first, we need to build an economic model. Okay, something that describes the feature, just a feature of the whole world. We cannot study the whole world in a book or put everything. No, there are quite a number of factors in the world that affects other variables. So there's no way we can actually consider all these factors. That's why we have to build economic models. So after you've stated your conjecture, you have to build a model. So what Keynes did was, now he is giving a conjecture that there's actually a relationship between income and then consumption. Basically, the conjectures were one, if your income increases by say $1, you will definitely consume some, but then you won't consume all, you save some. Okay, so what he called marginal propensity to consume is always between 0 and then 1. If your income increases by say $1 and you consume 70 cents, it means that your marginal propensity to consume is 70%. You always consume 70% of an increase in your income, and then you actually save the other 30%. So according to him, that marginal propensity to consume can never be 100%, and it can never be 0%. If it's 100%, then it means that whenever your income increases by $1, you consume all the $1, which doesn't actually, people do save. And also, if your income increases by $1, you wouldn't save all the $1. You definitely consume some, and then you save some, and then yes, then you save some. So these are the conjectures. So now you have to get a model. So the model that he built was, he stated that, I don't have my mouse here. Can I even write? He stated that C, which is total consumption level, equals what he called the autonomous consumption, the part of consumption that doesn't depend on income. Whether you have money or not, you still consume something. Even if you don't have money at all, you still wear something. So you definitely consume something. Then the B is the marginal propensity to consume. Then Y, your income level. So this is the model, the economic model. So this is just describing a feature of consumption. We can't just assume that it's only income that determines our consumption level. No. We can't actually add all the variables that affect consumption. So at times we bring something we call the error term or the stochastic term to capture the other variables that are not part of this. So we see the economic model to just describe some feature of the economic world. Then we use the features that we feel like are necessary to explain whatever conjecture that we are talking about here. But we cannot say that it's only income that affects consumption. But then this is just a model. So we just take something out of the world and then we use it for generalization. So this is the economic model that Keynes postulated. So after getting the model, you have to check the model against facts. That is where we gather data. Okay, you have to gather data, run them through the model for us to see if what you are saying is true or not. So with this consumption model, we need to gather data on consumption and then income. Run an econometric model on it. We can use regression. Then we know the relationship between consumption and then income. Is it that when you consume more, you get more income, or when you have more income, you rather consume more? What is how is the relationship? Is it positively related or negatively related? When income goes up, do we consume more? So you have to, after getting the model, you don't just live like that. Before we will accept the model, you have to run it through data. So yes, Keynes did that. He gathered cross-sectional data, that's data at a point in time. And he saw that there was a positive relationship between income and then consumption. And also the marginal propensity to consume was actually between 1 and 0. So that conjecture was true. Then they moved on to time series data. Time series data is data that is gathered on a particular variable over some time. Okay, and for that, we divide it into two: short run time series and then long run. Short run normally like a decade, but long run 30 years, a century, and all that. So when they run it through the short run time series data, some of the conjectures, he also stated that APC, something we will call something APC, the average propensity to consume. That is your consumption per your income, the fraction of your income that you consume. Is always greater than marginal propensity to consume. And the short run time series data confirmed it, that yes, MPC is greater than APC. But then when they used long run time series data, they saw that APC was constant, that it wasn't higher than marginal propensity to consume. So you see what has happened. We've been able to use the model to actually confirm that there's a positive relationship between income and then consumption. But then not all the data is actually going to agree to all the conjectures. But then we can accept the ones that were true. So after that, the other people developed other consumption theories to explain the part of the data that didn't actually work with what was saying. So we have quite a number. We have permanent income hypothesis trying to explain that, life cycle hypothesis trying to explain that, the random walk hypothesis, myopia, and all those stuff. So that is how the economic analysis works. First, you have to state your hypothesis, your question. You get your model, run the model against data, and then you'll be able to know if we have to accept your model or not. So this is the process that they go through. That is why we are seeing it as a science. Okay, it uses the scientific process that we know. So by checking the facts against the model, these are some of the things that they use. They use natural experiments, they use statistical investigation, and then economic experiments. Okay, just trying to see whether the experts will actually agree with the model. So for the natural ones, they just take a situation that normally happens in just an ordinary course of economic life, where we will try to hold all other factors constant, and then we'll allow the factor of interest to vary. Then we'll see what actually is going to happen. If we allow this factor to vary, to change, how does it affect the other factors, holding other factors to constant? But then for statistical investigation, we normally want to get a correlation between the variables in question. For example, we can try to look at the correlation between consumption and income. What is the linear relationship between the two? Okay, do they move together, or they move in different directions? And then if they are moving together, they move in different directions, what is going to be the change, the magnitude of change in one as a result of a unit change in the other? So income, consumption, now we've seen that they move together. They are positively correlated. They move together. As income is increasing, consumption to increase. But then by how much will consumption increase if income should increase by 1? That is what we use statistical investigation for. Okay, so that's where we use those softwares, RStata, SPSS, and those things, just to know the linear relationship between those variables of interest. And then the economic experiment, that one too, they will put an economic agent or unit in a decision-making situation. So maybe an individual can be put in a decision-making situation. Then they will try to vary some of the factors that can actually affect that individual's decision-making. So when we vary it, how will this person respond? So in the case of an individual, you are buying a particular good, okay? So